You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. It's incredible how all these topics connect in some ways: consciousness, spirituality, our ancient history. So it's amazing that you're exploring as many of these aspects as possible. For today, when it comes to your book, I'd like to start with going through each of the chapters and some of the highlights and most important aspects that you are writing about, starting with us as humans, as a human civilization. Do you think that we were always this Homo sapiens sapien version of ourselves, or was our genetics tinkered with? Were we genetically modified in some ways? What do you think about that?
This is a great topic to start because it will connect the first chapters, as you mentioned, but also it will connect the last. But I will start from the first chapters, and as you mentioned, human evolution, how we appeared and how we were created, or how we evolved from the hominids. And it's very interesting because I think the best evidence for that can be found in genetics, in a chromosome fusion from about 200,000 years ago, so a very, very long time. We know that evolution is a little bit conspiratory because we do not have all of the missing links that connect different species, etc., etc. But because we live today and because we have a very advanced understanding of genetics, we can conclude that something happened that created us about 200,000 years. And also that was my initial shift to think that our history may be much older, because about 200,000 years ago, we appeared or evolved or were created by maybe some extraterrestrial beings, maybe by God, who knows. So 200,000 years ago. And then we were doing nothing up to about 10,000 years BC. So for 190,000 years. So like most of our existence, like 95% of our existence, we were doing nothing. According to science, we were just hunter-gatherers, nomads, and there weren't any civilizations up to about 10,000 years BC. So that is a very, very suspicious thing. But when it comes to the creation of us, as I mentioned, we appeared 200,000 years ago with all of our, let's say, intellectual capabilities. And we know about that because we see that in a fusion of two chromosomes. Because other apes, like those apes that we are very closely related to, because we are told that we have like 90+% of genes from, let's say, chimpanzees. We are very related to those beings, but we know that they have 24 pairs of chromosomes and we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. And it is a major thing because different species with different numbers of chromosomes cannot procreate. So if we have one pair of chromosomes less than chimpanzees and other, let's say, hominids also, then we are totally different species. It isn't that previous hominid before us, if it really had like 24 pairs, like a one more than we, then we couldn't like procreate with them, and then there is no connection. We are a completely different species. So this is very interesting because that fusion of chromosomes probably appeared in a single being, like a single, let's say, ape-like ancestor of us. And we know that many fusions, many mutations that are caused, for instance, by harmful effects of radiation or maybe other things, they often led to mutations that are very negative in effects. Like some mutations create like those twins that are co-joined with each other. Other mutations are living in some very, very bad diseases, like let's say it was, I don't remember well, but you know, different mutations before birth of, let's say, a human lead to many, many bad conditions, and especially fusions in our chromosomes, because we know that there are humans with one, not pair, but one chromosome more or less, and they have plenty of diseases, and they are like they are I don't know how to say it, but there are these people that are not fully capable of being humans.
Certain disabilities.
Oh,
right?
yes, exactly, disabilities. And now we are speaking about the same thing, like having two chromosomes fused together, and it not led to like disability or something, but it led to the creation of much more advanced species. Like we know, because we study genetics, that fusion of chromosomes led to advanced cognitive functions, led to increase in the size of our brains, that is this prefrontal cortex that is all about mathematics, analytical thinking, and all of the advanced stuff. And there are some clues that also that fusion enabled us to express and feel higher emotions and feelings like love, unconditional love, not that primitive like lust and stuff, but it enabled us to feel those higher emotions that are mostly concerned with humanity. So it is like very suspicious that such an event that would lead to a disability actually led to the creation of our species that was much more advanced than the previous one. And now how a single species dominated the entire planet and eliminated all other humanoid like hominid species. And at one time there were even 5 parallel species of them all over the world. And now there is only us, not other hominid species.
Do you believe that there is evidence that not only were there different types of humanoids and hominids, but we might have been much taller or larger, and there may have been different types of humanoids as in our physical appearance? I know we have the evidence of the elongated skulls and, of course, people of very large stature. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, everything is possible. If such an event really happened, why there weren't any other events? Actually, we do not know much about the past of our planet, because when it comes to, it is also in my first chapter, when it comes to degradation of things, so because of microbes, because of oxygen, things deteriorate and decompose very rapidly. And we have only those evidence that we have like some skeletons, like some fossils, because there appeared certain conditions. Maybe the weather was, or the climate was like really hot, there was no much water, no much humidity, and that's why we have certain bones. And in most parts of our world there weren't such conditions. So that's why I think that we do not know that much about our past, and these are only some clues. So why shouldn't there be like skeletons of giants somewhere, like somewhere actually maybe found? Maybe those like cases are real, maybe there was another species, and we still discover more and more species. As I mentioned, we thought that we only coexisted with Neanderthals like in the 90s, and now we know that at one point humans coexisted with 5 or even 6 species of hominids at the same time. So why couldn't there be also some other beings? We know that one of those hominids was the man of Flores, which was like a meter in height. So why shouldn't also there have existed some like beings that were 3 meters in height? So there is a possibility of that, of course.
Right. Now, in the second chapter, which you title We Do Not Know Our Past, you discuss some of the advanced concepts hidden in metaphors. Talk a little bit about some of those metaphors and what you've discovered.
Yes, the main concept and the main idea that I focus on was the precession of the equinoxes. And the precession of the equinoxes is an astronomical phenomenon that considers constellations, the zodiac signs, because every year during the vernal equinox, when the day and night are equal in time, on the horizon there appear a certain constellation. And we know that since the ancient times we divided constellations into 12 or maybe even 13 signs of the zodiac.